you do this, all you'll have left.
Here's the truth about Gus Fring. He wasn't caught because he was sloppy. He was caught because he was perfect. His empire was constructed brick by brick on the premise of invisibility.
Gustavo Fring. Remember him? He came down to the hospital after the shooting to put up the reward.
The bland, benevolent chicken magnate who donated to the DEA, smiled through charity dinners, and radiated calm. But in the world of detectives, perfection is not camouflage. It is a neon billboard.
But I think Los Pollos Hermanos is a front for the biggest meth distributor in the Southwest.
Hank Schrader, DEA agent and stubborn bloodhound, saw right through the immaculate surface. And once Hank had a hunch, no amount of plausible deniability could shake it loose.
A drug-related homicide.
From the moment Gail Bedecker was found murdered, Gus's carefully orchestrated image began to betray him. Gail's apartment contained enough evidence to raise suspicion.
He's writing about phenylacetone cook, right?
Lab notes detailing an industrial-scale meth lab, Madrigal invoices for expensive filtration equipment,
Sir, your fingerprints were found at a crime scene.
and, most damningly, Gus's fingerprint on a Los Pollos Hermanos bag.
That napkin. Remember I told you Bedecker's a vegan, right?
Combine that with the absurdity of a vegan like Gail possessing fast food chicken packaging, and suddenly the fried chicken saint of Albuquerque looked less like a community pillar and more like a drug lord with a corporate cover. And yet Gus believed he could talk his way out of anything. When Hank pressed him, Gus didn't merely offer answers, he offered perfection.
15 years ago, I established a chemistry scholarship at UNM.
Every alibi airtight, every response rehearsed. He even declined legal counsel, as though playing the role of the honest man who has nothing to hide. Any real businessman would have shown up with a lawyer and a nervous sweat. Instead, Gus came armed with composure and meticulous records, presenting himself as the one man in New Mexico whose life left no smudge. That was precisely the problem. Hank, seasoned enough to know that life is messy, found Gus's precision suspicious. Ordinary people stop for gas. They run late. They grab groceries. They make mistakes.
That's work. That's home. That's work. That's home.
Yet Gus's GPS data revealed a life so robotic it bordered on parody. Home, work, home, work. Never a detour, never a coffee run, never the smallest deviation.
He's not your guy.
The DEA might have seen this as dull routine. Hank saw it as choreography. A man performing the role of a law-abiding citizen with such intensity that it reeked of artifice.
Oh, a guy this clean's got to be dirty.
A guy that clean has to be dirty, Hank quipped. That line wasn't paranoia. It was deductive instinct. Of course, Gus may well have been toying with Hank. By this point, he had correctly assessed that Hank was working alone.
He sponsors the DEA fun run.
Unsupported by his superiors who considered Gus a personal friend and benefactor. What better way to drive a man mad than to present him with evidence so clean it screamed conspiracy? To only ever drive between home and work was less sloppy mistake than calculated psychological warfare. A subtle reminder to Hank that he was being stonewalled, taunted by a suspect who knew his investigation had no institutional backing. But if it was a game, it was a foolish one. Gus's great strength was patience. His great weakness was ego. Walt may have been motivated by pride, but Gus was hardly free of it himself. He couldn't resist the satisfaction of playing the smartest man in the room, even when silence would have served him better.
But you have the right to have an attorney present also.
Declining a lawyer, entertaining private conversations with the DEA, spinning unnecessary stories about Gail's supposed shortcuts, these were not the actions of a man hiding in plain sight. They were the actions of a man daring the law to catch him.
Just one man's humble opinion.
And Hank, unlike the rest of the DEA, did not need airtight evidence to pursue a lead. He had instinct. And instinct is what makes detectives dangerous.
We found a notebook at his place. I made a copy for you.
He noticed Gail's chemistry notes and recognized them for what they were. The blueprint of an industrial meth lab.
Gail Bedecker's apartment.
He compared fingerprints from Gail's apartment with Gus's coffee cup and found a match.
Madrigal Electromotive also owns a subsidiary.
He noted the absurd coincidence that Madrigal, the German conglomerate owning Los Pollos Hermanos, was also the purchaser of Gale's equipment.
Right? He won't quit.
Yeah, well, he's got nothing.
Circumstantial? Absolutely. Inadmissible? Perhaps. But in law enforcement, circumstantial evidence is not weakness. It is accumulation. And Hank was nothing if not obsessive in piling it higher. This obsession was not without irony. Hank could sniff out the falseness in Gus's story precisely because he lacked that same instinct when it came to Walter White.
Fring, and also
Wait a
I'm
minute.
locked down for my own protection.
Did you
With Gus, he saw the danger behind the polished mask. With Walt, his family ties blinded him. In both cases, the evidence was scattered across time and space, requiring a mind willing to connect dots others ignored. But where Gus's too perfect facade screamed criminal mastermind, Walt's bumbling chemistry teacher persona whispered, harmless. Hank's instincts were impeccable, except when they weren't.
Months ago, Mr. Fring was one of our sponsors.
The DEA, of course, fell for Gus's performance wholesale. Why wouldn't they? He was a donor, a friend, a public figure.
Please, I'm very anxious to find out what this is all about.
His fingerprints on a fast food bag could be explained. His Madrigal connection was too tenuous to pursue. His demeanor was unimpeachable. Only Hank remained unconvinced, fueled partly by gut feeling and partly by the sheer perversity of Gus's answers. For every question asked, Gus was already prepared. For every doubt raised, Gus was over-prepared. And in law enforcement, the over-prepared suspect is rarely the innocent one. Consider also the broader context. Gus's restaurants provided the perfect logistical cover for meth distribution across the Southwest.
There are continuing reports of blue methamphetamine.
The blue product was appearing in places too organized, too efficient to be the work of small-time dealers.
Think about this Gus Fring, right? About how he never goes anywhere. I mean, one restaurant home.
Somebody with resources, infrastructure, and corporate shielding was behind it.
You do this. All you'll have left.
Los Pollos Hermanos was no longer merely a fried chicken franchise. It was a pipeline, and Gus was its architect. In the end, Gus's carefully curated normalcy was his undoing. A real innocent man would have shown nervousness, made mistakes, left gaps. Gus left nothing. He didn't even bother with the illusion of normal human behavior, like running an errand or showing up late. He was so flawless that Hank could only conclude one thing. The flawlessness itself was evidence. That is why Gus Fring fell. Not because Hank stumbled on a smoking gun, but because Hank understood the psychology of perfection.
He's got an alibi for Gale's murder.
Gus could rebut every accusation with logic, but his very refusal to be human was the louder confession. A drug kingpin does not need to slip up to be caught. Sometimes it is the absence of slips that seals the case. In the mythology of Breaking Bad, Gus represents the man who played the long game too well. Decades of patience, immaculate planning, flawless cover, all undone by the simple truth that real life is messy, and only liars insist otherwise.
Mr. Fring was the one who put the hit out on Uncle Hank.
Hank's obsession may have bordered on mania, but in this instance, mania was the correct response. Gus Fring was guilty not in spite of his cleanliness, but because of it.
Gus Fring is dead.
And so the fried chicken saint was unmasked, not by evidence alone, but by the one thing he could not fake: imperfection. Gus built an empire on order. Build this channel with a click.